How are you? So welcome to Emerging Technology
Yeah,
Conversations. This is
yeah.
Paul Gunn. Welcome all the way from, where are you from again? What part of
It's
America?
in Huntsville, Alabama.
That's so cool. So Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Uh, but thanks for asking, Debbie. In the short of it, I would call myself a vessel for overflowing into others. And that kind of transfers over into the kind of work we do. In short, being a logistician to help others by helping our warfighters get home safely. So I'm a husband, father, and just a loving vessel to overflow into others.
And so you were in the military yourself once, or
No, I wasn't. I come from a military family. So initially, when the towers went down, my brother went in the Marines, and then I was going to go in as an officer. But I was denied for an issue with my foot. So, yeah, that's what delayed me out of it. So when my brother got back from serving his time, my dad was a former auditor in the government, so I hadn't seen my brother in 4 years. So we jumped at the first opportunity to start a business. So we started the previous business we co-owned, and then we kind of went our separate ways, and I started this one. So, but we do come from a military family.
wow. So
Yeah,
you're a sourcer of a sourcer and a supplier of materials for the Defense Force, is that right?
yeah, that's correct. We're military suppliers, so we do it all. We kit it, we bring it in. We light assembly, can manufacture stuff, and it's a wider range of capabilities we have.
That's interesting. And also, tell me about your experience. You also supply the space industry.
Yeah, that's been interesting, and it's been fun to do it. So we actually do a lot of the similar parts. They're interesting enough. There's some companies down from where you are. I won't name any names, but we do take interest in working and building relationship down in Australia to support that and work to elevate that industry as well.
Oh, well, we appreciate it. I should mention, what's the name of your company?
And so our company is called KOG Corporation.
KUOG as in KUOG.
Yes, correct.
And what does KUOG mean?
So interesting enough, with the previous company, when we were first born, when our son was first born, I came across the company Coke Industries, and after learning some lessons of the first exit with the company, this company was kind of started to mature in the long run as a conglomerate. So this isn't just the only space where trying to fill in and be. We want to be into similar stuff like you're talking about emerging tech, emerging opportunities that come out in the forefront. So right now, this is what we're doing, but we're starting to make inroads into those things that cross, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in agriculture. That is in our near term to continue to identify those things so we can place our hands into that. But initially, it came from Coke Industries, seeing how they were able to have a lot of different hands in on the industry. So I just kind of did a name association to come up with something that would fit.
Hmm. So you didn't use, it's not an acronym for anything.
No, because the real story is the movie came out, the movie War Dogs came out, and there's a system you're supposed to use to put in your information to get to be able to go after contracts. So our son at that time it was on 2 hours of sleep, hour on. So when I was on the phone with the lady telling her, I was at the KU and I knew I wanted 4 letters. So when he woke up, I just rumbled out of my mouth, this little OG. So the OG part basically came from him coming on there. So it kind of fit, but some people are into spiritual numbers or soul numbers, but interesting enough, the name numerology to it is the same as my soul number, but it can have all different meanings to it.
Yeah, sometimes things just come to you and it just fits,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's no sort of rhyme or reason. It's just
yeah,
that's what it is. That's
yeah,
what it is.
exactly.
So you're over in the States. Is it cold over there? It's
It's very
winter.
cold. Yeah, it's very
Well,
cold.
you're in a
It's
t-shirt, so I can't tell.
yeah, when I came upstairs so it could be warm. Uh,
That's exciting. So tell me
yeah.
more about what's it like over in the States at the moment. So in Australia, we only get what we see on the news. And so it's very a limited view uh, of the United States. And obviously, the United States is a very big country.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what's it like where you live? I don't know. I live by the beach, so it's maybe 15 minutes to the beach and about half an hour to the hinterland, which is mountains.
So Huntsville is kind of in a valley per se, so it goes. We're about 6 hours, I guess, depending on which way you take it, down to the Gulf Shores, which is out down there in Mexico. But I like it because it has kind of more of a city, small town feel. Even though Huntsville's growing, it has. I grew up there, so it has a smaller town feel to it, but it is growing. I love the countryside. I enjoy it here. I get to travel. It's near Atlanta. It's near Birmingham. It's you can go to Nashville, so it's well versed. So you can go out to the different cities and return kind of to the areas you want to be in.
Yeah, that's nice. So
Yeah.
do you go to Nashville for the country music?
No, that's it. I think if anything, more outside of work is being a hands-on dad and father. So yeah, it's mostly spending time with our kids. So we do get out and take them, places.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So oh well, my children are grown up, so I don't have that anymore. But I do have
yeah,
nephews and nieces. But we should get back to
yeah.
uh, what you do. So, for example, if a company came up to you or whatever and said, "Okay, this is what I want. Can you source it for me?" What's your process? Can you get things from anywhere in the world? Is that not a um, issue? And well, actually, at the moment, there's a huge problem with shipping. We know
Yeah,
over
okay.
COVID, it's tripled. I don't know about over there, but
Yeah,
the prices here have tripled. And also now with the war over in Israel, I think the shipping lanes are clogged again because they're not
yeah.
going through the Red Sea. So, how do you handle issues like that?
So I know it may seem cliche to talk about relationships, but I find like in our line of work, trust and relationships matter. They do delay, they do have their concerns, but when you're able to build relationships cross reference for those that may have things near shore or can circumvent that, you rely on those relationships. So using platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram to kind of, or Twitter just to meet new people to see what relationships are there, those things have turned in to become vital when those delays have happened because there's sometimes you're one, two, three connections away from somebody being able to help you, and that has turned in vital. So I would say that's primarily what we've been able to do is leverage those. And those things start early. We may not need that from 2 years from now. And in between now and those 2 years, what we were able to do was help with some of that. So when some of the delays were there, we were calling on others to help us that we had developed those relationships 3, 4 years prior. So it is cliche to kind of say it, but in my
Not at all.
situation, or yeah, it's been very helpful. And you'd be surprised who some of those connections come about. Instant enough, I think I write in my book about, well, hey, what's your correlation? I always had the curiosity of what's the correlation of a flower shop owner having a connection to the named person that you need inside of either a shipping company or a manufacturing company, only to find out either the husband or the wife go to that shop to get it, and you're interested
so
in it
true.
enough. Say, hey,
That's
look,
so
I need
true.
help. And the flower shop person owns it. Say, hey, I know someone here. And you never know where those connections come from. Or you're volunteering at a place just to happen to find out. I heard a story once when it was on the voiceover at the clubhouse where someone was talking about how they were volunteering at a place. They needed a big funding for a movie deal that they were doing. And it so happened the person who was volunteering had excess money. He just wanted to give out. So he wound up writing this person all the money they needed, plus 250,000 more, simply because they didn't ask. They had seen how their behavior was going at a volunteering place. And there goes the connection out of all places. All the money spent to try and meet someone in their normal domain wasn't the place. So it pays to make those connections and keep them warm over the process.
I think that is so valuable, and I agree. You just never know. I think if you start pigeonholing people in different categories, it just doesn't. It's no help to you. I think you need to be open to anyone from any status, from any cultural background, from anywhere, because everyone, you just don't know. You really just don't know. And that's happened to me so many times. And people ask me, how do you know this person? I'm going, well, I probably had a chat somewhere. I have no idea, but it's like I'm meeting you today. We connected on LinkedIn, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's an amazing platform. But that is such a valuable, I think that above everything else is that connection and collaboration and communication. I think the biggest problem these days is the lack of communication. You know, even though I am constantly talking about emerging technology is fabulous as a tool, but that connection, human to human connection, is the most important thing in your life, I think, in your life, because if you it just enriches your day. It makes, you know, talking to you today has made my day a better day.
I would say the same. You tell the truth, and ultimately, your supply chain happens, and this is we're taught you got to build those links of trust. And what happens is, it's very difficult for me to put blame on somebody else. So what happens is, it ultimately will stop with me. So if something goes on, I'm the one who has to interface with the customer, and they're essentially going to say, Paul, what happened? And even if something happened with a shipping lane or a vendor or a downline, it doesn't look good. Second, it's just not kind of the way I'm built to just place blame. So you're ultimately relying on those relationships and that communication, where if I got to take the heat for something someone else did, to just go back and say, hey, look, I didn't basically throw you under the bus, but next time I need you to let me know sooner, because ultimately I'm going to stand and take the heat for what may have transpired. I need your help to relay this information even sooner. Don't wait till the last minute to kind of tell us what's going on.
Yeah, and it's about finding solutions and using the connections and information you have to find solutions instead of a lot of it comes down to also, I think, sometimes ignorance. Oh, big smile. Especially when it's with where everybody knows their own little, you know, they live in their own little bubble. They don't sometimes see outside their bubble.
Yeah.
And they might be afraid to go outside that bubble, actually. And that's something that is, I think, a human trait. But if we can break outside that bubble and connect with other people to find solutions, again, I'm very big on finding solutions for problems instead of complaining about them, because there's no point complaining about them. There isn't. There's no point complaining. You can complain to me 3 times, but more than that, I'm going, well, what are you doing about it? It's important to find solutions for problems, and in a way where, again, you said, 2 years, you've met someone, and then after 2 years, you might be able to go back to them and say, can you help me with this? That's very, forward thinking. And it's not even forward thinking. It's just, again, the connections with people and the fact that that person would answer your phone call, the fact that that person would email you back and say, hey, Paul, I can help you with that. That's just amazing. And not everyone can do that. Yeah. Well, if we talk in business, when you do a business course, when you go to universities, they don't teach you this. They don't teach you this. No. And it's day-to-day business is about, again, connecting with your customers, finding out what your customers. You can read all the business books on the planet, but if you can't connect with your customers, if you don't have a passion and a drive, and I speak to a lot of startup companies or people that have ideas. I'm going, if you don't have the passion, you're not going to have the energy to see it through, because it's hard. It's not easy to start a business. You're not going to get a lot of sleep. You're going to work your guts out. You're going to have people that tell you can't do it. Like I'm constantly. Yeah. I receive that as myself. You can't do it. Like you can't talk to that person. I'm going, well, why can't I talk to that person? If I reach out and they don't answer me, that's fine, whatever, at least I tried. Yep. That's, and what doesn't matter whether you're in logistics, in a space industry, in the healthcare industry, it's all the same. It's about people and connections. And I think that's what you write about, isn't it, Paul? So tell us about your book.
Well, it's interesting you talk about that. That was the genesis of the book. When the pandemic hit, we have a young son, and I'm asthmatic, so I didn't know if that was going to take me out. So essentially it started as just letters to him. I was going to leave it. And it wasn't until I wrote an article on Entrepreneur about empathy and empathy wins and selling doesn't that I get a lot of back channel. So I went ahead and decided to just push it into a book. And there's more of my story to show, hey, at those points and why I believe empathy is so important and vital to business and just whatever you do. It transcends industries and domains. You can learn a lot from people if you take the logic and emotion and tie it together. I often refer to it as wisdom of the heart, because not everybody's going to see it that way. And I give you, for example, some people, the accountability, the way they give it, they may have compassion. Sometimes it comes out different. You may have a team member that's not going to want to hear the soft answer. They're going to want it there. They're going to want it direct. So you got to have the ability to understand who you can talk to and how. What is it underneath their external persona that they're really longing for? Some people want the recognition. Other people want you to just be there near to them and hear them. So if you can hear and utilize empathy to see who it applies to and where, you can get a long way and go a long way with it. So I tend to just write from my experiences and where impact has been made on me and where I've seen it when it's happened, when I've shown it. Just the world's just better when it's done that way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's about being aware of what that other person is, what their situation is sometimes. Yeah. And people go, well, sometimes something will happen and people will go, well, how do you deal with that? And I'm going, well, if I put myself in that person's situation, then, they're having a bad time. Something's happened to them. I'm going, well, they've just reacted that way. So I don't let it upset me, because you can't let it upset you. Sometimes it's, I don't know, I'm good at turning a blind eye, I think, sometimes. But I get so much more out of it. So much more. You tend to get more out of being compassionate than what you give, I think. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you today, Paul. Don't you love it? Don't you love it that we can communicate and see
Yeah.
each other across the globe?
Yeah.
Even though our time zones are crazy, but it's just been a great experience. So thank you for your time.
Anytime. Anytime.